There comes a point where holding on stops feeling brave and starts feeling heavy. You keep hoping they'll change, that they'll realize what they lost, that maybe love will be enough to fix what's broken. But it's not your job to keep waiting for someone who's already gone. Hope can be beautiful until it becomes the very thing keeping you stuck. You deserve peace more than promises, healing more than hope. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop holding on and finally give yourself permission to heal. Hope is beautiful when it fuels your strength, but it can quietly become a prison when it stops you from moving forward. When someone leaves, when love fades, or when things fall apart, the mind clings to hope like it's a life raft. You replay the good moments, you remember their potential, and you tell yourself that maybe if you just wait a little longer, they'll come back different. Maybe they'll finally see what they had in you. That kind of hope feels comforting because it keeps the story alive. It keeps you from having to face the truth that this chapter might really be over. But there's a point where hope doesn't serve you anymore. It starts to hurt you. It becomes the reason you stay stuck, checking your phone, rereading old messages, making excuses for someone who's already shown you who they are. The hardest truth to accept is that hope can turn into a form of self-delay. You tell yourself you're being patient, loyal, or understanding, but deep down you know you're waiting for something that may never happen. Every day spent hoping they'll change is a day you postpone your healing. Every time you romanticize what could be, you betray what actually is. And the more you wait, the more you teach yourself that your peace depends on their return. That's the trap. Because hope, when misplaced, keeps your heart in yesterday while your life keeps moving forward. There's nothing noble about waiting for someone who left you in confusion. There's nothing romantic about holding on to a version of them that existed only in your imagination. We often confuse hope with love, but love is active. It meets you, it shows up, it builds with you. Hope, when it's tied to someone who's not choosing you, becomes passive. It turns your power into waiting, and the longer you wait, the smaller your world becomes. You stop living fully. You stop seeing new possibilities. You start living in a loop of maybe someday. Letting go of that kind of hope isn't easy. It feels like surrendering, like giving up on something sacred, but in truth it's the opposite. It's the decision to stop living in emotional limbo. It's choosing to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. And that's where healing begins. Healing starts the moment you stop asking, "What if?" and start accepting, even if they never come back, even if you never get the apology, even if this is how the story ends, I'll still be okay. That's where your power lives. You deserve to live in the present, not in the version of the future you built with someone who's not here anymore. You deserve to give your energy to something that's real, something that gives back. The person you're meant to become can't exist while you're still holding on to the fantasy of what could have been. You can't rebuild your life while waiting at the door of someone who isn't opening it. There comes a point where you have to ask yourself, am I hoping for them, or am I avoiding my own healing? Because sometimes what we call hope is really our fear of letting go, our fear of facing the emptiness that comes with moving on. But that emptiness is temporary. The peace that follows is lasting. When you stop holding on to false hope, you make space for real life to show up. You start to see beauty again, in yourself, in your future, in the freedom of not waiting anymore. And that's when you realize that healing doesn't come from hoping they'll change. It comes from finally deciding that you will. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that love means endurance. That if you really love someone, you fight for them no matter what. You stay even when it hurts. You prove your loyalty through pain. We romanticize struggle, thinking that the depth of our suffering somehow measures the depth of our love. But love was never meant to be a test of how much heartbreak you can endure. Love isn't supposed to drain you, confuse you, or make you question your worth. It's not meant to make you feel like you have to break yourself into smaller pieces just to fit into someone else's life. Real love doesn't ask you to lose yourself to keep it. It doesn't require you to constantly forgive what keeps breaking you. The truth is, when you find yourself explaining away disrespect, begging for effort, or waiting endlessly for change, that's not love anymore. It's attachment mixed with hope. It's the kind of bond that keeps you chasing moments of warmth in between stretches of cold. It's the belief that if you can just love them enough, they'll finally become the version you see in your mind. But that's not your responsibility. Your love is not a rehabilitation center for someone's inability to meet you where you deserve to be met. You don't need to suffer to prove your heart is genuine. You don't need to cry yourself to sleep to show that you care. The right kind of love won't make you doubt yourself. It won't leave you feeling unseen or unheard. It will bring calm instead of chaos, consistency instead of confusion, peace instead of pain. You will know it's love because you'll feel safe to be yourself in it, not because you're walking on eggshells hoping not to lose it. The problem is that when we grow up equating love with struggle, peace feels foreign. We get addicted to the highs and lows, mistaking emotional intensity for connection. But true connection doesn't need to hurt to feel real. It feels real because it's mutual. It feels safe because it's steady. When you love someone and it constantly hurts, you have to stop asking, "How can I make this work?" and start asking, "Why am I accepting pain as proof of love?" Letting go of this pattern means relearning what love actually is. It's realizing that love isn't proven through how long you stay. It's proven through how well you're treated when you do. Love isn't about holding on tighter when things get worse. It's about recognizing when your peace is being sacrificed for the sake of someone else's comfort. That's not devotion, that's self-abandonment. You can't heal in a space that keeps wounding you, and you can't grow in a relationship that only flourishes when you shrink. When you finally choose to stop glorifying suffering, you start to attract a different kind of love, a healthy one. One that doesn't make you earn affection through pain or patience, one that meets you halfway, one that feels gentle but powerful. And most importantly, one that starts with you, because self-love is the foundation that teaches others how to love you. When you decide that you no longer have to suffer to feel worthy, you set a new standard. You show yourself and the world that you're done mistaking chaos for passion. You deserve love that's kind, stable, and nourishing. You deserve a love that doesn't hurt to keep. Because real love won't ask you to destroy yourself to prove you care. It will remind you that you're already enough, exactly as you are. The moment you stop confusing suffering with depth, you stop settling for pain and start choosing peace. And that's when love stops being something you survive and starts being something that helps you thrive. Letting go is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, not because it's complicated, but because it feels like surrender. It feels like giving up on something you believed in, like abandoning the story you thought you were still writing. You hold on because part of you still believes that love should conquer everything. You hold on because you're afraid that walking away means it all meant nothing. But letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the moment you stop fighting for something that's already over and start fighting for your own peace instead. There's a quiet kind of strength in accepting that something no longer serves you. It takes courage to stop chasing potential and face reality. Anyone can stay and hope things get better. It takes real bravery to walk away and admit that they won't. We grow up thinking that the person who leaves is the one who failed, but sometimes the person who leaves is the one who finally woke up. The one who realized that love shouldn't feel like constant confusion, waiting, or pain. The one who decided that being alone with peace is better than being together in pieces. Letting go doesn't mean you stopped caring. It doesn't mean you're cold or heartless. It means you've reached a point where caring doesn't require self-destruction. When you love deeply, your instinct is to fix things, to try harder, to understand more, to stay just a little longer. But at some point, you have to recognize when effort turns into self-sacrifice, when your trying becomes begging, when your compassion becomes an excuse for someone else's lack of respect. Love isn't supposed to make you lose yourself. And the moment you realize that, walking away stops feeling like weakness and starts feeling like self-respect. Letting go is an act of maturity because it means you're choosing clarity over chaos. You're saying, I still love you, but I love myself more. That's not cold, it's healthy. Because love without boundaries isn't love, it's dependency, and holding on to something that keeps hurting you isn't strength, it's fear. The fear of being alone, of starting over, of not finding someone else. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't happen in the same space that broke you. You can't rebuild yourself while still standing in the ruins. You have to walk out, even if your voice shakes and your heart aches, because freedom only comes after the release. There's wisdom in recognizing that sometimes love isn't enough. You can care for someone deeply and still know they're not right for you. You can have history and still understand that your future deserves peace. The heart doesn't heal through clinging, it heals through acceptance. Every time you choose to stay where love hurts, you tell yourself that pain is your home. But when you finally let go, you begin to remember that peace was always your birthright. And one day, you'll look back and realize letting go wasn't losing, it was learning. You'll see how walking away wasn't the end of something beautiful, but the beginning of something honest. You'll feel lighter, more yourself than you've been in a long time. You'll understand that wisdom doesn't come from holding on tightly, it comes from knowing when to release. Because strength isn't measured by how long you can endure what hurts, it's measured by the courage it takes to say, this isn't good for me anymore. Letting go is not giving up. It's choosing yourself after forgetting how to. It's realizing that peace is worth more than potential, and that your heart deserves safety more than constant uncertainty. The day you let go completely, you don't lose anything. You simply make space for the life and love that are meant to find you next. We're taught to look for closure, as if it's a door someone else has the key to. We think if they just explained why, if they just said sorry, if they just admitted they messed up, then maybe we could finally move on. We wait for that final conversation, that one message, that sign that will make the ending make sense. But what if closure isn't something they give you? What if it's something you decide to give yourself? Healing doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes it comes with accepting that you may never get them and choosing peace anyway. The truth is, closure often becomes a disguise for wanting to stay connected. It's our way of keeping the story alive just a little longer. We tell ourselves we're waiting for clarity, but really, we're waiting for hope. We're hoping that when we talk again, something will shift. That they'll suddenly understand our worth. That maybe, just maybe, it isn't really over. But that's not closure, that's a loop. It keeps you stuck in the past, feeding your mind with what-ifs instead of what now. You don't heal by chasing explanations, you heal by accepting the reality you already have. Acceptance doesn't mean you like what happened. It doesn't mean it's fair. It means you stop resisting the truth long enough to let peace in. It's looking at the situation and saying, I may not understand why it ended this way, but I accept that it did. Acceptance is the moment you stop waiting for the apology that might never come, the understanding that might never arrive, the reunion that might never happen. It's a quiet shift from, why did this happen to me, to what can I learn from this? That's when your healing begins. Closure from another person feels good in theory, but even when you get it, it rarely fixes what you think it will. Because no explanation, no apology, no confession can undo the nights you spent confused or the moments you doubted yourself. You don't need their words to validate your pain or make your experience real. You already lived it. You already felt it. Waiting for them to make it make sense is just giving them power over your peace. The truth is, closure is about reclaiming your power. It's realizing that your healing doesn't depend on their awareness or remorse. You don't need them to feel guilty for you to move on. You don't need them to regret losing you for your life to get better. What you need is the courage to stop searching for answers that won't change the outcome. The past won't rewrite itself. The only thing that can change is how tightly you keep holding on to it. Acceptance is freedom. It's the moment you stop asking the past to comfort you and start allowing the present to rebuild you. It's waking up one morning and realizing you don't need to replay the story anymore. You've already learned what it came to teach you. Sometimes closure looks like deleting the message you'll never send. Sometimes it looks like walking away without needing the last word. Sometimes it's just the deep breath you take when you finally understand that peace is more valuable than explanation. You may never get the closure you imagined, but you can still have the peace you deserve. And that peace doesn't come from them saying the right thing. It comes from you deciding to stop waiting for it. Healing isn't about getting permission to move on. It's about realizing you already can. The moment you stop searching for answers outside of yourself and choose acceptance instead, you stop being a prisoner of the past and start becoming the author of your next chapter. Because real closure isn't when they say it's over, it's when you finally believe it. You spend so much time hoping they'll finally see you, hoping that one day they'll wake up and realize what they had, that they'll remember your kindness, your patience, your love, and come running back, ready to give you what you've always deserved. You hold on to that idea because it's easier than facing the truth that maybe they never will. You convince yourself that if you just love them enough, stay long enough, prove yourself enough, something will shift. But love that requires you to chase it isn't love. It's exhaustion dressed as hope. It's the illusion that your effort can make someone ready for what they're not capable of giving. The love you deserve won't ask you to perform for it. It won't make you question your worth or wait for crumbs of attention just to feel seen. The right kind of love meets you halfway. It doesn't hide, it doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable, and it doesn't keep you guessing where you stand. You don't have to fight to be chosen in real love, because real love chooses you back. It shows up with consistency, not confusion. It communicates with clarity, not games. It feels safe, not uncertain. You deserve a love that recognizes your value without needing to lose you first. But when you're used to being the one who gives everything, it's hard to believe that kind of love even exists. You tell yourself that if you stop trying, you'll lose them. You tell yourself that walking away means you didn't give enough. But what if staying is what's really costing you? Every moment you spend chasing someone who won't meet you halfway is a moment you steal from your own healing. You can't move forward when all your energy is spent convincing someone to see your worth. Sometimes the reason you keep chasing is because a part of you believes that if they choose you, it'll finally mean you're enough. But love doesn't validate your worth, it reflects it. You were enough before they ever came along. Their inability to love you the way you need doesn't mean you're unlovable. It just means they're not capable of giving what you deserve. And once you truly understand that, you stop chasing and start receiving. You stop begging for attention and start requiring effort. You stop hoping they'll change and start realizing you never needed them to prove anything in the first place. The kind of love that meets you doesn't make you feel like you're too much or not enough. It makes you feel understood. It allows you to rest. It gives you space to be yourself without having to earn affection, and it feels peaceful because it's mutual. You deserve that kind of love, but to receive it, You have to stop running after the kind that only takes. You have to stop trying to make someone see your worth and start acting like it's already seen. That's when things begin to shift. That's when you create space for love that's real. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop begging, you start receiving. When you stop settling for potential, you start living in reality. And the reality is this: you deserve a love that feels like home, not like a battlefield. You deserve a love that stands beside you, not one that keeps you waiting at the door. The person who's meant for you will never need to be convinced. They'll simply recognize you. They'll meet you where you are, love you as you are, and stay without needing to be begged to. Because the love that's meant for you will never require you to lose yourself just to keep it. It will never make you chase it to prove it's real. It will come when you stop running after those who can't give it, and start walking toward the peace of knowing you've always been worthy of it. Healing isn't about pretending you're fine. It's not about smiling through the pain or forcing yourself to forget what happened. Healing is messy, it's slow, it's filled with days where you think you've moved on, only to feel everything all over again. But the real truth about healing is that it's not about forgetting them. It's about remembering yourself. It's about returning to the version of you that existed before the heartbreak, before the waiting, before you started questioning your worth in someone else's hands. Healing begins when you stop looking for them to come back and start coming back to yourself. When you lose someone you love, you don't just miss them. You lose a part of yourself that existed in that relationship. You lose the person you were when you believed in forever, the one who felt safe in their arms, the one who dreamed about a future that no longer exists. That's why moving on feels impossible, because you're not just grieving them, you're grieving the version of you who existed when they were still there. But healing is about meeting that version of yourself again, piece by piece, and realizing she's still here. Maybe softer now, maybe wiser, but still whole underneath the pain. You don't have to erase the memories to heal. You don't have to hate them to move on. Healing isn't about closing your heart. It's about keeping it open even after it's been broken. It's about learning to love again, not because they're gone, but because you refuse to let what hurt you define you. The goal isn't to forget what happened, it's to grow from it, to take what you learned and use it to build boundaries, confidence, and self-worth. Healing is the quiet decision to no longer let the pain control you. For a long time, you might think you need them to apologize, to explain, or to come back to make things right. But healing isn't about getting answers. It's about accepting that you might never get them and being okay with that. It's about forgiving yourself for what you didn't know then, for what you tolerated out of love, and for the times you stayed too long. Forgiveness, especially toward yourself, is where real freedom lies. You start to see that the ending wasn't your failure, it was your beginning. The universe doesn't take people away to punish you. It removes what's blocking your peace. The more you heal, the less you chase closure, and the more you choose peace. You stop analyzing their every move and start observing your own growth. You notice that your heart doesn't race when their name comes up anymore. You stop replaying old conversations, not because you've forgotten, but because you no longer need them to mean something. Healing is the gradual unlearning of the belief that your happiness depends on someone else's presence. It's reclaiming your power, your identity, and your joy. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that you no longer ache for what's gone. You'll feel a calm you didn't know you were capable of. That's when you'll know healing has happened, not because the memory has disappeared, but because it no longer hurts to remember. You'll understand that letting go wasn't about losing them. It was about finding you. Healing is a homecoming. It's you slowly walking back to yourself after getting lost in someone else. It's you realizing that you were never broken. You were just growing through something that was meant to change you. You don't heal by hoping someone will return. You heal by returning to who you were before you forgot how whole you already are. That's the moment you stop surviving and start truly living again. There comes a moment when you finally understand that holding on doesn't make love last, it only makes your pain linger. You start to see that hope without peace isn't healing, it's self-punishment. The truth is, you don't need another chance with them, you need a new beginning with yourself. Because the moment you stop holding on to what hurt you, you create space for what's meant to heal you. And that's not losing, that's choosing peace over pain, and finally remembering that you deserve to feel whole again.